Um, no, but I do have a video. It's probably one of my
Links
more
down below.
links down below. It's probably one of my more watched videos. It was against the 63, and we had to win 6-4 to basically
Wow.
win the league. If we tied, we would have lost. And the greatest thing was it was 5-4, and no, it was 4-4. No, wait, no, it was 5-4. 5-4
All right,
us.
all right.
Okay, I'm trying to remember this.
Uh-huh.
It was 5-4 us, and we were at close range with the 63, and Cheesy Pants did a fake hold where you just stop and
Yeah.
then move along without expending any shots. And the 58E took the bait, and not the 58, the 63E took the bait and shot half their line shot, and so Cheesy then stopped and shot, and we killed half their line, and then charged, and then won the league.
Oh my gosh! And how'd that feel at that point?
That was
Did you guys?
that was the first time I ever won a league. Probably the first
Wow.
time I won anything. My honest opinion.
Even
Oh,
like group fighting or anything like that. That was the first time that you got a victory
yeah,
in WL.
yeah, those first like tournament and league win.
Now, how did that affect you in terms of like after you guys won? What happened to the regiment? Did it go uphill or downhill?
It started going uphill for a little bit, but then it started going downhill fast because Cheesy was going to college. Blade was doing multiple.
Wasn't Blade his brother?
Yes, they were brothers, and Blade was doing stuff. Not the good Christian values kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, I see.
And so the regiment had no leadership. Of course, I was still in it, but at the time I was like only a corporal, NCO, and so throughout that time, it really did not kick off ever again. So
The 71st.
yeah, and so it ended with us disbanding in I would say around mid 2015.
But didn't you guys? I remember fighting you guys in the AEF and tying with you guys, and I remember the last round you were like going super try hard, but it was a 5-5, and I remember after the 71st got their shit together because I think Cheesy Pants got really frustrated at that. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
You'll have to give me a date.
I don't remember the date, but it was, you don't remember Arctic Kiwi?
Yes.
It was around his time when he was around in the 71st, and he left. I forget what the reason was, but he joined the AF, and it was
during that time. That was 2016. That was after we reformed
the
regiment, and then we disbanded in 2015. We had some few months off. I rejoined OD. I joined the 63E. We did NWL Season 5 against the 58E, or the 91st at that time. Lost that, stayed in the 63 for a few more months. Then I joined Odie's regiment because it was the only really promising thing left for me to join. Basically made Odie's regiment into a super dominant force, and then Cheesy Pants decided to reform, and all the 71st guys that I accumulated in Odie's reformed regiment left.
So,
including
at this point, did you start to get a following of guys?
Not really exactly a following, but I think people were starting to like me to where, they would follow me wherever I would go, in a sense. That is by definition, that is a following, but I wouldn't say, like, I had a fan base.
No, but, like, you join a regiment and you have a group of guys who'd come with you.
Not exactly, but at that time, yes, because
All
Cheesy
right.
Pants reformed.
Would you say you're closer, like you could do that now? Where you're at in your
where I
career
could join
in
a
NW?
regiment and I would have a following? No.
No? Do you think you'd have any friends who would join?
Huh?
Do you think you'd have any friends who'd join with you?
Yeah, they would probably later on, but not at first.
So I now that was. Do you feel there's anything more in the 71st that we're missing that you want to cover?
When we reformed, we did win. We did win against the 5080 and TNWL.
I remember that. I remember watching that match.
Yeah, and And here's the little background of that match. So, of course, in NAWO Season 5, we were actually really competing for that. We had players such as myself, Skinny, Achilles, all that. But we also had Asian P and Godfrey, currently 91st leaders. And we were basically up against a 58E, but we'll later renamed to the 91st.
Okay.
And so we lost 6-4 against them, basically losing us the league in Season 5. And thus, later on, caused us to disband, because at that point it was all downhill from there. People started leaving, people went inactive, Cheesy went inactive, it was all bad.
So what was the regiment based around? Was it based around Melee, or was it based around Cheesy?
Melee. It was based around Cheesy's leading and Melee.
So like if you guys started to do poorly in the events, people would start to leave?
No, they would stay till the end and then leave.
But you mean like the end of the round, or like for the regiment?
End of the match. Oh, wait, you talking about the regiment?
Yeah.
Oh, people would leave when we started to lose and really not become the banter-filled funhouse that we used to be. And people started leaving and joining other regiments, or just started becoming inactive. But going back to the TNWL match, because that was probably
a good time. Yeah,
that was probably the best finals match I've ever been in. Where basically it was going back and forth. It was all competitive, and this was of course around late 2016, around November, October. So
it was like all the tryhards on two different sides. It was all
the tryhards, and in all honesty, the 71st were the underdogs. The 5080 had players like Maple, Jackie, Vortex, Asian P, not Godfried, but they had the 5080 and 3 Evil coalition, basically.
Ooh.
It was basically we were going up against the world, and we won 9-8. Went into double overtime.
Holy crap. I remember that season. TNWL had, for the AF, we went into overtime. I forget what it was with a 104th, and I know you guys went into overtime. I know it's not the same type of level, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was all back and forth, and it was really probably the funnest match I've played. And I remember at the end, of course there are videos of it, you could look that up, and we all started screaming because we won all that TNWL money, all $300. And we basically got revenge for what happened in ANWL.
Now, what was it in terms? How'd you perform? Do you remember?
I wish I performed better, but I will give a shout out to my friend who is currently in the United States Marine Corps Waste, who got like 30 kills in that match.
Holy crap!
I only got 20. He got 30. So
was he on top?
Yeah, he was on top.
That's crazy. 30 kills. 1v1.
Yeah, that's very hard. I can at most get 20, 25.
So, what do you feel like was your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest
as yourself.
As myself, probably leading the Lieb Grenadiers.
So, let's move it on to that, because I know you did that for
a year.
A good amount of time. I remember in the AF, I think we were around before you guys, but I think we disbanded before you guys did, if I recall correctly. Being there, and how did things start? What was it like?
After the NWL match season 2, both the 5080 and the 71st disbanded. So the two powerhouses of NA and W disbanded. And
then everything just explodes.
Everything exploded, basically. And so the remnant Waste wanted to reform the NR37, and he asked me to join. And I'm like, I'm not gonna really play a big role in the regiment, but I would come to events and, of course, do my best to carry them in certain situations. And at first, I don't know why people do think this, but like we started out so shit. We couldn't lead line battles at all. We lost to the SIL 2-8, but they did have mercs. That still doesn't justify losing that bad. And then over time, Waste and I had started to get the cohesion down of leading to where I was basically able to outlead regimental leaders who've been leading for nearly 3+ years. And we started to gain the love and support of certain members of the community that started to join. And then that's when we took off really around February to March of 2017.
Because I know I have quite a few friends who've been in the LG, and it seems like you guys create quite a good environment there.
With me yelling at everyone, yeah, it was a good environment. Nah, it was, when we were in group fights, I would usually become really upset if we start losing, but if we were winning by hard, we would just, like, make jokes the entire time, like the 71st. And it was really a good time when we were winning, but if we were losing, I would get upset.
So what was your greatest achievement in the LG?
Winning NA and WL Season 7, but I could also say winning NAPL Season 2 against the 3 Volt, basically.
Oh, that must have been freaking difficult, because the 3 Volt have always been, like, pretty freaking melee stacked their whole existence.
When they reformed around after NAWL Season 6 was over, so around March to April of 2017, they got all of these members across the entire community, and they started out super stacked. And I don't understand that. I've never understood, like, why people would call the LG super stacked or whatever.
Oh, I know why. Because you guys were. Let's be honest.
Well, not at the beginning. It took us
not at the beginning, but you guys did get pretty stacked. It took us a good
5 months to be able to get to the point of where we were, universally recognized as one of the best regiment. While the 3 Volt, they don't even have to work at it. They get this massive following when Asian P says, "Hey, let's reform for the 5th time, guys."
That's one thing. If Asian P is listening right now, or if anybody from the 3 Volt, I definitely like to talk to him too, because I find that fascinating. That regiment just always commands such a presence in terms of just having people like join for melee. It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know how it happened.
It's just the community, and they all like hanging out with each other. That's really it.
I'd like to learn more about it, so that's why I leave an open invitation. But being in the LG, having to face them, how was the victory, and what exactly happened, and what effort did you put in before it to be able to get there? Like, how much effort did you put into the LG?
All of my time that I could spare. During the entire summer, I would get on group fighting. I would get people on group fighting, and we would practice, we would train, and of course going up against the 3 Volt all the time, we would either win or we would either lose. It was always back and forth. Of course, if you ask someone the 91st, or the 91st currently, or the 3 Volt, then they would say "Oh, we were the better regiment." Not really. This is coming from my point of view, and I usually view things at an even. I don't view things as a bias, but it was very back and forth in group fights and 1v1s. And then, of course, the infamous July merge that we had with the 45E, or at that time they were named the 85E.
Oh, I remember that. A lot of people thought that was pretty cancer.
Oh yeah, it was. Trust me.
I mean, you were the one in it, so could you give us a perspective on how that went down?
I was the one leading it. Oh.
Yeah, what was there to lead? Really?
It was probably one of the most stressful times of my life, because these guys, they would not think of repercussions of what would happen if they started trolling certain people. And, of course, the 3 Volt stopped doing events with us. We restarted the struggle trying to get people on, but we still had that drive to beat them because, NAPL, the season was still happening at around that period of time. And the reason why that merge happened was because the 3 volt